Kill him, Oran!
28th Hemra, 505 Imperial Calendar, Dawnsorn, Arambra continent. I'll kill him, Alden gasped, his voice cracking. Aran! As three commanders held him tight, Pavel screamed, Your Highness, no, please. The capital comes first. Alden continued to strain against them for several heartbeats. Pavel's words slowly penetrating the red haze. Capital first. Right. He needed to see her first. His struggles gradually ceased. His breathing remained ragged, but he stopped fighting their restraint. The commanders cautiously loosened their grips as he sank to his knees for a moment, staring at the shards. His eyes then turned towards the priests. I'll question them, Alden ordered, his voice shaking with controlled fury. No one else speaks of what you saw. Highness, you heard me, he snapped. His cold clarity cut the air. I am the Supreme Commander. Remember that. Disobeying me is insubordination. He forced himself to his feet, snatching the fallen soul from the stone floor, and dragged one of the kneeling clergy by the robes. The men followed, hauling the rest of the priests to their feet. They opened the door of the inquiry room. What they found was not a room, it was a shrine of mutilation. The small bodies, too small, lay arranged across the floor in deliberate patterns. Downy wings, golden, jutted from bodies that were otherwise human at a glance. Their skin pale, not radiant like hers or her kin's. The soldiers vomited, one fainted, but Alden stood frozen, his hand slowly being covered in something dark, pitch black. He didn't bother to take. His eyes stayed glued to those small souls. At first shock, then horror, and finally relief hit him sickeningly sharp, accompanied by a deep sense of self-loathing as his gaze landed on the color of the wings. These children were not hers. Alden turned to his men, hissing, Outside, all of you. His commanders hesitated, but they obeyed, retreating to the doorway, leaving him with the priests inside. The blood continued to drip from Alden's fingertips. He stepped forward. Where is she? He demanded. Orenia. Orenia, Angel of Flame, one screamed. Shut up! Alden ground his teeth, his grip tightening on the priest's robe. You saw it, didn't you? His own voice sounded foreign, carrying an echo that wasn't his. Alden didn't pause to observe his own state. You touched it. He slammed the priest to the floor. In front of his feet, his hands were now darker, but it seemed only he could see it. Dropping to his knees, he clamped his darkened hand over the man's face, his fingers plunging deep to gouge the eyes from their sockets. The man shrieked, yet continued to shout, Angel, a vine! The noise wouldn't stop. It clawed at his skull. Alden felt like his head was splitting with pain. Gouging his mindless priest's eyes did nothing to give him relief. It only made him feel worse. Alden stood up, turning to the rest of the priests. He raised his sword and split a priest's head. Blood splattered on the chest. He raised his sword again, then again and again, but there was no aura in his sword, only something dark, a void. His sword, battered by the weight of war and unable to bear the burden of the unknown dark coming out of him, splintered in an instant, each piece swallowing the light of the charge. They rode out from the church, pressing toward the capital, Some soldiers disappeared along the way. Others wept. Alden didn't stop them. Only one image kept replaying in his mind, and it was unbearable. The sculptor. No, 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 Aurenia, no, please. He didn't know whether he was praying for everything to be alive, or only for her to be alive. He just rushed forward, without food, without rest. His horse had already collapsed on the way, its body lost in the shifting ground. He scrambled up and ran on foot, gasping her name. He wasn't sure if he was walking anymore, or dragging himself forward. And after who knew how long, he reached the place where the palace gates should have been. But all he could see before him was a river of molten fire. He took out his compass and looked around. Then, desperate, he stepped forward, ready to throw himself into the lava. He didn't need to. From under his feet, a bridge of ice formed. He didn't question it. He just ran, and with each step he took, the bridge extended. The frost path carried him into the throne room, or what was left of it, and there he saw her, Aurenia, alive, breathing. She sat on the throne where his father used to sit, wearing a jagged crown of frost and embers. "You're late." Alden took a step forward, his voice cracking. "Aurenia, you're..." He didn't get to finish. A wall of flame surged before him, forcing him back. She looked down at him like he was nothing more than a name on a list of the damned. Then she stated, "I should never have met you." Alden gasped, his eyes wide. "What are you?" Her expression wasn't that of someone looking at her savior, but as if she were staring down a perpetrator. The hatred in her eyes made Alden stop mid-sentence. She didn't care. Her words carried no semblance of the affection they had once shared, as she pronounced his full name, Alden Aljo de Leonham. Alden stared at her, caught between doubt and confusion, but her words fell like a divine decree. "I will not kill you. Death would be a mercy you do not deserve." Her words cut deep, but he didn't argue. He fought for the Empire, for this place, so she could have a home. But in that process, he had failed to do what mattered most, protecting her. "You will leave with what you have done," she continued. "Every human you dare to love, every person you hold close, they will die in agony. And as for you..." Alden didn't raise his head. He was the one who had prevented her from accompanying him when she insisted. He was the one who had urged her to trust Iran and this empire. He had no explanation to give as her curse kept going. "You will burn and freeze for eternity. No sleep will bring you comfort. No food will sate your hunger. And you will feel every moment of pain your betrayal created." "This is what you want, my prince. This is my answer to your promises, returned in kind." As soon as her last word ended, the curse hit. Heat and cold struck at once, tearing through his veins. Alden collapsed, screaming, but then he hastily raised his head. Aurenia's outline shimmered, and her form flickered like a dying nova of fire, scattering with each breath and torn between two worlds. "Remember this moment." Her last sentence echoed. "Please don't." Alden screamed to stop her, but this time too, he was late. She was gone, vanished into nothing. The melted remains of her jagged crown gleamed on the scorched stone where the throne had been. Beside it, the pendant, ichor, shone with a soft red glow, but it soon turned dull. 9th Syndra, 505 Imperial Calendar, Dawn's Worn. Alden knelt on shattered marble, surrounded by what remained of his empire, and waited. The light shifted once, day into night, night into day, and it felt like a single agonizing breath. His men came and went. Some offered food, some simply left to never come back. "Your Highness, Brandon died today. His body was found in the river, frozen stiff," the old commander fire reported. Alden tilted his head slightly, his lips barely moving. "I see." Footsteps approached again. Commander Pavel's voice followed. The twins, Elric and Darn, were found hanging from the Silver Star Tower. Alden's lips cracked. "I see." Later, he didn't know how much later, a soldier staggered in. Ira choked on her own blood. Her insides were found burnt. With hollow eyes, Alden whispered, "I see." The names kept coming, one after another, until they blurred together. At some point, he stopped answering. The words simply didn't come anymore. Limon, his childhood friend, rescued from the far western dungeons of the Viramont estate, came to him immediately and shouted into the ruins. "Snap out of it! Damn it! What will you even do if she comes back? Live happily ever after in this wasteland of corpses? Do you think she'll welcome you with open arms after what she's done?" Alden said nothing. His gaze stayed fixed on empty air. "She destroyed everything, Alden. She burned families to ash, even killed the children. That bitch!"
The word came sharper than he expected. Limon recoiled, then laughed bitterly. "Huh? You still defend her? Right, I should have known." "Limon!"
He stormed out of the ruins. Alden's gaze flickered with a fleeting, painful pity. After all, Limon was his childhood friend and loyal aide. Later, they found his body shattered outside the palace walls, bent backward like a broken doll, frozen solid. The curse did not stop. At first, it was just a few voices beyond the gates. Then a crowd. Some threw stones, others spat. "You brought her here. You trusted her." She cursed the land. "There's monsters everywhere. Their accents, their clothes, different provinces, different lives. All of them ruined. Some even came to beg for help, but at some point it changed. Their sharp tongues had turned into pleas. Monsters. They are everywhere. Gods abandoned us. We can't fight, Your Highness. Save us." Alden tried to help, whenever he felt pity or empathy for someone, but helping anyone wasn't something he was allowed any longer. And soon, he gave up as dead bodies piled in his wake. Alden spoke no more and offered no further help. It was futile after all. Slowly, he got up. He didn't know where to go, but he kept walking. One day, a young man approached him, sword in hand. His uniform was torn. His eyes were wide and bloodshot, and he trembled with grief and madness. "Everyone's dead. Everyone," he muttered, glaring at Alden. It was one of his own people, a citizen of the Empire, someone he was sworn to protect. The man screamed in rage, "It's all your fault! You cursed us!" He raised his sword with trembling hands, shouting, "Why? Why did she bring these monsters? Answer me." Alden's brows drew together. Monsters. That was all anyone said. But it seemed the man before him wanted revenge. Alden didn't dodge. "Why didn't you die? Die!" With another scream, the man's blade came down in a brutal, jagged arc, cleaving clean through Alden's neck. Alden's vision lurched, then broke apart. At last, is this how it ends? He closed his eyes, waiting for the end. But it didn't come. Sensation remained in his eyes. He opened them. His vision locked onto a slumped, motionless form drenched in blood and headless. His body. The pain was unbearable, but still present. The soldier dropped his sword. It clattered against the stone, the sound sharp in the dead silence. "You were never supposed to return from that war. Why did you win?" He collapsed beside the ruin of Alden's body, his chest heaving, his hands pulling frantically at his own hair. It's not our fault. It wasn't human," he gasped, his voice a ragged, hysterical whine directed at the severed head. "It was just a thing with wings. How were we supposed to know? He let out a wretched wet sob, rocking back and forth. We just wanted to see if it bled like us, plucked a few feathers, just a bit of sport, and for that, he slammed his fists against the ground, his grief curdling back into madness. For that, the thing burned my Anna. She let those things tear my boy apart over a little fun. He pointed a trembling, blood-soaked finger at Alden's face. You brought her here. It's your fault. Alden could clearly hear what was being said. An empire burned. Millions died, and his soul was condemned to eternal agony, all because the people he had bled to protect were bored. For fun. They did it for fun. Alden no longer felt any sympathy. Did they deserve it? Then he pondered, watching his headless body twitch and drag itself across the stone toward him. Do I deserve it? He could feel the pieces pulling together. There was no warm light, no divine grace. Just the sickening scrape of bone on stone and the violent snap of severed tissue knitting shut as his neck fused back to his spine. He gasped, choking on ash and cold air as his windpipe fused, then muttered, "Over a little fun, you say?" The soldier stumbled back, all grief momentarily forgotten, replaced by terror. "Monster! You're just like those things! Monster!" He turned and ran, screaming into the ruins. After a few seconds, Alden sat up. He touched his throat, now completely intact. Even death didn't want him. "Monster?" he murmured. "Meh?" A dry laugh escaped his lips. Alden dragged a hand down his face, the heel of his bloody palm pressing hard into his eye, as he sneered at the back of the running man. Suddenly, the man's neck was torn apart by the jaws of a creature. Alden laughed louder, finding amusement in the sheer, exhausted absurdity of it all. He lowered his hand, staring at the bloodstains, until they were swallowed by the dark haze seeping up from the shattered stones. Deepened by the shadows of the eclipse, it began to cling to his skin like a heavy frost. Unlike mana, it didn't pulse with energy or life, nor did it shine like aura. Instead, it was a freezing, suffocating absence, a perfect mirror to the hollow in his chest, the void. The creature then turned its gaze toward Alden, and a horde of more twisted creatures emerged from the distance. Alden slowly stood, shaky at first, still smiling. His gaze lifted to the sky as the horizon turned black with flying monsters all drawn by the smell of blood. He turned to the remains of the palace, the lava-filled capital of the empire that was supposed to be his to rule. Instead, it was now echoing with the screeches of monsters. A hollow smile played on his lips. If I can't die and can't live, what's this all for? He walked back across the blood-stained stone to where his body had first fallen, bending down to pick up the sword the soldier had dropped, the one that had just been used on him. "Come," he said. "Let's see what's left of me." And he rushed toward the horde alone.